Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, a week from now is Christmas. We're in the middle of the holiday season, and I ran into an old friend of mine who's got a great new job, who's launched a really fascinating holiday gingerbread festival. And I thought it would be great to check in with Louroz Mercader, who is now the executive director of the Yonge St. Clair Business Improvement Area. New job for him. Congratulations, Louroz. And he's launched this gingerbread festival. So first of all, congratulations. Tell us a little bit about the festival, and we'll come back and talk about St. Clair, Yonge St. Clair Business Improvement Area.
Great. Thank you so much, Brian. Yeah, I'm happy to join the Yonge St. Clair Business Improvement Area, or BIA. And as you know, there's over 84 across the city of Toronto, but also in Mississauga as well. And yeah, we wanted to look for a signature holiday festival that's really unique to this neighborhood. And I remember going down to Florida with my family all the time during the holiday season. And when you go into these hotels down in Florida, they have these large gingerbread displays. And you could smell it when you come into the lobby. And I was like, we need to recreate that here in Toronto. And so we created and launched Toronto's inaugural Toronto Gingerbread Festival on Tuesday, December the 13th. And we have two spectacular gingerbread displays built by local artists. And we're inviting everybody across from the city and across the GTA to come down to Yonge and St. Clair and check out this display with your family.
And you had like over 500 people at your launch, I understand.
It was remarkable, and we had a line out the door before the official opening. But the other great thing about the launch event is we gave out over 500 gingerbread kits to everybody who attended, but also to the local businesses, the local community here. And we're running a online contest where we're encouraging people to take the kit home, go build it with your friends and family at home, and then load the photo up onto social media and tag us at Yonge St. Clair. And we're going to be announcing the winner just before Christmas on who has the best gingerbread display.
And is this just of the figures, or of the houses, or of what?
So you have to use everything that was given to you in the kit, and you have to stay true to gingerbread. So you can't put any other additional things that it's not edible. And so yeah, so you have to be authentic to the sort of gingerbread display that was given inside the kit.
So I've got my favorite Portuguese bakery nearby that sells these wonderful gingerbread homes already constructed. I can't go there and enter that house.
No, no, that would be disqualified. But it's great, Brian. We had so many people already tagging us on social media. We're using the hashtag gingerbread festival TO. And also the other thing, we have two contests, one for the public, but also here at Yonge and St. Clair, we have pre-pandemic, we had 15,000 office workers working in the office buildings. And so how do we engage these office workers to come back to the office as well and support the local economy and the stores and restaurants in this neighborhood? So we thought it was also fun to run a office competition. So we have 35 teams who have been competing this week as well, building their gingerbread displays with their office mates. And yeah, it's really exciting. We're looking forward to the winner next week when we announce it on social media.
So tell us, where we can come to see these two displays. Tell us the website or the Instagram account that we can check out your competitors, and what we can do if we want to get a kit.
So Yonge St. Clair, our signature gingerbread display is located at 2 St. Clair Avenue West. So if you're heading here, it's it's the St. Clair subway station, or the St. Clair streetcar line that also ends in this neighborhood. And yeah, to find out more about this, so you go into the lobby of 2 St. Clair West, and immediately you'll see the giant gingerbread displays, and you'll also be able to smell it. But to find out more information, visit our website, which is yongestclair.ca. Also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, which is Yonge St. Clair. And in terms of the kits, unfortunately, there's been overwhelming demand, and they're all gone already. And so better luck for next year. We definitely have to triple the size of our order. But if you wanted a gingerbread kit, unfortunately, they're all gone for this year. But this is such an overwhelming success.
You can't go out and get your own ingredients and compete.
No, we were trying to keep it sort of in terms like there's different types of kits that are out there, so we just wanted to keep it the same as well too, and just also to level the playing field as well for this
Well, I'm going to
contest.
go out and make one. You can disqualify me. I'm going to just go out for the fun of it and get inside this fun process, fun
Love it.
festival. I really appreciate it. So, Louroz Mercader is the executive director of the Young St. Clair BIA. He's launched this Gingerbread Festival. It sounds like it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a great way to bring the community together. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about BIAs and how they do try to, number one, bring the community together. Number two, obviously, promote the local businesses. So stay with us, everyone. We'll be back in 2 minutes with Louroz Mercader, the executive director of the Young St. Clair BIA. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is an old friend of mine, Louroz Mercader, who is the newly appointed executive director of the Young St. Clair Business Improvement Area, BIA. Louroz, the last time we chatted, I think you had just completed some time as head of communications for sidewalks down in the waterfront. Then I understand you spent some time at another BIA, young at Eglinton and York or something like that.
Yes,
and
correct.
We first came across each other, I think, in the Mississauga City Summit. You were very involved in that. Then you did some youth games. Then you ran for politics. Like, you've been really involved in urban affairs, community affairs for a long period of time. Why?
Yes. Good question. I think I've always been instilled in that, especially my late grandmother, who really instilled this idea of volunteerism and giving back to the community. And I had a great upbringing in Mississauga, in the neighborhood. I live in Cooksville. And so you want to make sure that the next generation of kids growing up in the neighborhood have the same, if not greater, opportunities out there for them. And really being involved in local issues, community groups, and local government. That's where you really make an impact in people's lives. And in terms of you're being able to see sort of the results that you're putting in. And so, working on large projects like sidewalk laws with Waterfront Toronto, but even now working on helping revitalize and re-energize local neighborhoods and communities through BIA is really exciting work. And it's sort of, I love the idea that's also we're supporting small and medium-sized businesses because they bring vitality to neighborhoods and they really bring the community together.
Where is the Young St. Clair BIA? Like, it's obviously at Young and St. Clair in sort of uptown Toronto, but how wide is the jurisdiction, the geography of the Young St. Clair BIA?
Yeah, and so it's sort of midtown Toronto here, so just south of Eglinton, Yonge and Eglinton, and we represent over 450 small and medium-sized businesses, but also 90 local properties within the BIA. So we're fairly large in the BIA world in the city of Toronto, and our boundaries is from Heath Street to the north, all the way to Summerhill, just about Summerhill Station in Toronto. And then to our western boundary is Avenue Road, all the way to the Ravine here in Toronto on the east side.
Oh, it's huge geography.
It's huge, yeah.
And what does the BIA try to do?
So the primary thing is to support the small businesses and the property owners within the BIA. A lot of people don't know this, Brian, but the very first BIA in the world was started here in the city of Toronto over 50 years ago in Bloor West Village. And that's when a group of merchants came together and decided to pool a levy that they imposed on themselves. And they used that money to reinvest it back into the local neighborhood. So they use that money to do things such as local promotions, local events, and to support each other to help brand the neighborhood to be able to attract new shoppers and tourists into the area. So that idea of a BIA has spread across the city of Toronto. Now there's 85 BIAs.
85 BIAs in just Toronto?
85. Yep, 85. It's representing 90,000 small businesses and properties across the city of Toronto, which is remarkable. And as you know, it's grown across the GTA. I think there's 5 or 6 in Mississauga now. And I just came back from a conference in Vancouver, and we had an international summit that had all the BIAs around the world, which was remarkable. I don't know how many there are out there, but we had over 2,000 delegates from around the world. And this idea of a BI started right here in the city of Toronto.
Now, I think that people would think about things like putting out plants and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But tell me a little bit about what the BIA does to really,
Yeah.
promote local businesses. What type of events, what type of things, what type of activities are you involved in?
So definitely streetscape is a big part of it. And that's things such as the local planters, or if you see street banners or pole wraps in the neighborhood, or gateway features when you're coming into it, that's the work of the BIA. And that's to help sort of brand and provide an identity to the neighborhood. And from that, using that brand is really putting it out there in terms of marketing and promotions campaigns to be able to attract new customers into the neighborhood. So supporting the small businesses, especially the storefront retailers and restaurants that are in the neighborhood, is really key. And we do that through social media and marketing campaigns. So we have newsletters and all the different social media channels. But especially during the pandemic, Brian, the great program that was started is something called Digital Main Street. And as you know, today in this day and age, like if you don't have a website, if you're not on social media, it would be really hard to find you and to find more information about your business. So there was actually a great program that the BIAs here in Toronto started called Digital Main Street. And that provided a grant of $2,500 to small businesses to develop its sort of a marketing and social media plan for themselves. And using that money to do paid ads or to hire a social media person or to buy new technology. And so in my previous BIA, I don't know have the number here for Yonge and St. Clair yet, but we had 90 businesses sign up for this program, and using that program, get them online to really promote their products and services out there. So supporting retailers on the ground like that is really important through its survival. Also, the big piece of the BIs is around advocacy. And that was really important during the pandemic as well. A good example here in the city of Toronto is because of all the closures that happened, there was another great program that was piloted in BIAs called Cafe TO. So that was taking sort of existing spaces out in front of restaurants in the city of Toronto, and can we extend people's patio so there's more additional outdoor seating. And so that was a wildly successful program that was lobbied by local BIAs in the city of Toronto, and now it's being made permanent by City Council.
I
So
interviewed
put
a couple
together,
of
it's sort of like running like a mini city in each of these BIAs across the city of Toronto.
I interviewed a couple of different restaurateurs during, I guess last summer during COVID, and they had incurred a lot of extra debt and were really
Mhm.
hurting during all the lockdowns that we had. But they were making substantial money from their
Yeah,
patios, and
yeah,
it was offsetting a lot of the debt that they had incurred. Just keeping their businesses alive during
yeah.
the lockdown. So I think it was extremely helpful, and I really congratulate you and your other organizations for lobbying city governments and other institutions to keep those restaurants, those patios going. And some of them are still going even in the cold weather with big heaters and
That's right.
stuff. And some of them do a really good job of beautifying the
Right.
laneways with wood. Gardening
Yeah,
with wood, with boardwalks, with things like that. So I think it's
yeah.
a spectacular addition. And you go to Europe, people are dining out on the laneways, on the streets, the sidewalks, all over the place, and people love people watching. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful. And when I was out in the BI yesterday, talking about the Gingerbread Festival, a lot of the restaurants said it's what really saved them during the pandemic. And so I'm glad that this program is becoming permanent in the city of Toronto. And I know a lot of municipalities across the country have adopted a similar program.
How does the Gingerbread Festival help what you're doing?
I think it's one thing it's unique to the market, especially in the Toronto area. You know, everybody does sort of tree lighting ceremonies or winter festivals. So we saw that, this is something that could be in a major attraction that people will travel far to go see. And so, I haven't crunched the data, but just even distributing those kits to the 500 people that attended the thing is looking at sort of their postal code. how far did you actually travel to come all the way down here to see this gingerbread festival? And then, they also opt into our newsletter list. But the other great thing of them being in the neighborhood is, they're bound to, stop at to eat in the neighborhood or to go shopping or to pick something up while they're here. And so that has sort of economic spin-offs with these sort of types of festivals and events that are happening in the neighborhood. And then also it's really key in terms of media. I think our media team just crunched numbers and we had 3.4 million impressions just from the gingerbread launch event that was held on Tuesday. So we had, major media outlets come out to cover the event. So it's really important to have sort of these drivers into the local community to support the local economy that's happening here.
Your area is going through a fairly big transition as well, is it not? I think of it historically as sort of between Yorkville and Yonge and Eglinton, but it's developing a lot on its own, and historically maybe as well it would have had a lot of offices, and you mentioned a lot of those office workers, but you're getting a lot of residential condominiums that are being built and opening up. Is that not correct?
That's right. I mean, like this year alone, half a dozen applications were put through City Council here in Toronto and approved. And so we're expecting a huge influx of new residents with all these new condo and residential developments happening in the community. And that's the other key part of the BI is to coordinate all of sort of the developments happening within the district to ensure it has sort of a unified look and feel, and also that the sort of the Section 37 funds that are, currently being collected are invested in the right priority areas within the neighborhood. But yes, if you come here, you already see the construction crane starting to go up. So it's really exciting what's happening here at Yonge and St. Clair.
Not everyone knows what a Section 37 is. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so every time a new developer comes in and say is building a new 30-story tower, sometimes they ask for additional height increases as well too. And so the trade-off usually with the city or the municipality is that they contribute to sort of community dollars, and that that money is invested into sort of local priority areas. So that's whether building new parks or new local infrastructure. If there's a new library or community center, that money would help build that local infrastructure in that particular neighborhood.
When I think about your area, there's a bunch of benefits. You're right in the middle between Rosedale and Forest Hill, so you probably got reasonably high average median income, I would think. You've got a ravine system that you already mentioned that's
right
close by, and you've got transit, both the Yonge Street subway as well as the St. Clair streetcar. Is that true?
That's correct. And so it's well connected. It's urban, but also it has sort of the nature with it. It has a good, healthy mix of housing stock too. So you're right in terms of the sort of established neighborhoods in the area, but it has a good balance of like old condominiums and new ones that are being built. But also there's a healthy mix of apartments. So a lot of young people and young couples. I know I have a lot of friends who also live in the neighborhood. And so it's a vibrant mix of housing and also retailers in the area.
And I've strolled the area a few times, as you probably can imagine, and coming up, Yonge Street from Summerhill to St. Clair, there's a bunch, and even north of St. Clair, there's a bunch of really nice local, non-chain restaurants and shops and cafes.
And family run that's been here for decades. So, it is sort of a foodie destination that people will travel to.
A foodie destination.
And it's only gonna get better, Brian. We're trying to attract even more restaurants. Like Buka just opened right at the northwest corner of Yonge and St. Clair just this month. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a major investment in the neighborhood, and it's going to be really the next destination within the city of Toronto and the GTA.
And just west of Yonge Street, recently I was in an old office building that the lobby has been converted to an LCBO and a grocery store. That was really quite neat.
That's right. It's beautiful. It's really well done. And again, going back to Section 37 funds like that, it also helps with local artwork. And so investing in sort of local pieces and landmarks of that was a result of that development happening. So it was a great reuse of a building. I think it was the old ESSO headquarters that was converted. So it's magnificently done.
It really is. It's something that people should check. And that's just on the south side of St. Clair. west
Yeah.
of Yonge. And this whole area at Yonge and St. Clair really is a vibrant area that's becoming even more vibrant because of some of the development that Louroz has mentioned. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back in just 2 minutes with Louroz Mercader, the executive director of the Yonge St. Clair BIA. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. Our guest tonight is Louroz Mercader, who is the executive director of the Yonge St. Clair BIA Business Improvement Area. They've launched what I really think is interesting, a gingerbread festival. It's a lot of fun. Remind us what the address is if we want to come check out your artist-inspired, spectacular gingerbread homes.
So the physical location is 2 St. Clair Avenue West. And to find out more information, please visit our website at St. Clair, youngstclair.ca.
That's got to be pretty close to the subway exit.
Just across the street. So it's really easy to get to.
Louroz, let's take a step back. There's been a lot of talk about building a sense of place in urban environments. Lots of talk of late about, affordability or lack of affordability and the need for more density and more houses. About 3 decades ago, there were a lot of people that wrote things about we need a third place. And the third place was something that wasn't the job and that wasn't the home, a place you went to. And that Europe had developed third places. But North America didn't really have really good third places. And we needed to have those third places where you'd go, you'd hang out, you meet your friends, you go for dinner, stuff like that. Does the BIA have a role? Do BIAs in general have a role in trying to build that sort of urban sense of place, that third place, that place we can go and enjoy life a little bit that's not job, not home?
Absolutely. And I think that's how it happens, or sort of the secret ingredients for a lot of these neighborhoods. So a good example of here at Yonge and St. Clair, like we only started in 2018 is when the BIA started. And part of that, we created a streetscape master plan that really identified sort of abandoned sort of public spaces that we're calling now activation zones. So a good example is that Yonge and St. Clair on the south east corner in front of what is an entrance to a TTC subway station, and also right beside an office tower and local shops. You took what could have been just an abandoned space, but now we're trying to create it into sort of a little parquet at the heart of the intersection. So we just unveiled a new signature bench, which has a beautiful architectural design and look and feel to it. Put new trees around it. We're going to be putting, new artwork in there as well too. And so, there's a cafe that was there. You could, get your coffee and then sit outside and have a meeting and talk to your friend kind of thing. And so it doesn't need to be sort of large scale, these sort of in between public spaces that somebody needs to be responsible for in terms of planning and managing and taking care of. That's where the BIA is able to take these spaces and really transform them for the local communities. And a good example, I know I live in Mississauga and Cooksville. At the corner of Huron, Ontario and Dundas, there was a parquet as well. And I know there's a new BIA that opened in that neighborhood in Cooksville. And I've seen the BIA there, take what was sort of like an abandoned corner of such a key part of Mississauga. And they had like a great tree lighting event, holiday event there last week. And that's the sort of the spaces that we need in our local communities for friends and neighbors and local businesses to gather. But that doesn't just happen by itself. And, like local municipalities only have so much resources. So to be able to have sort of a public-private partnership with local BIA and businesses and property owners is really key to making those complete neighborhoods happen.
So, when I think about the places that I like to go stroll, maybe walk my dog in an urban environment, not recreational, I think about Bloor West Village. I think about Roncesvalles. I think about the beaches. I think about Port Credit. I think about maybe Mount Pleasant or Bayview. And almost all those places have BIAs. Tell me, what is it that you do? Like I understand the beautification of the streetscapes, but what is it you do to try to bring the place together? How do you make it a nice place for people to go out and walk around and and people watch and
Hmm.
shop and dine, etc. What is it that you do?
Um, yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. And so I think it starts from creating a plan for the local neighborhood. And that's really informed by the residents and the businesses and property owners that are there. And how do they really retain its sort of unique character and flavor, and magnify that on a greater scale. So it's sort of that planning and coordination work that needs to happen first that you don't see that the BIAs coordinate. And this is done through working on with committees, and a lot of them are volunteers, and working with different city departments. So that coordination role to be able to put those pieces together to, create that bench in that parquet area, or to put in new banners or flower beds, needs to be done sort of for the background. So the BIAs play that central role to making that happen. The other big piece of that is being able to fund all of these things. And so again, the cities only have so much municipal capital, infrastructure, and budgets. And so having local retailers invest into the local neighborhood that they're in is really key. And so having that plan, having that sort of additional revenue piece to be able to support that is really key. And then once those spaces are created, is how do you activate and promote those things? So that's where the BIA is able to coordinate programming with cultural events or activations that happen throughout the year. And then also promoting it on social media, on websites, on through the media, to be able to drive people to go experience the local neighborhood through these events or through these activations that are happening. So it's sort of a mini sort of tourism agency slash city department running these little these BIs across the city. But that's what people love and feel about neighborhoods, is that they actually can feel like they're connected, feel like that something special is happening there. And again, the BI is the central role in making that happen in these places.
I'll give you my 2 cents worth if I could. I interviewed a gentleman who said that the key of organizations like yours, and what we needed to do in Canada, was put community back into our communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that spoke to me because, some people think that community or neighborhood, your word, is just a geographical context, but it's not. A community or a neighborhood has a social interaction context as well. And when I think about those shopping districts, those communities, those neighborhoods that I enjoy going to on a regular basis and walking around, are ones where the shop owners know each other. And if you ask them, where can I get, some flowers? Where can I go for dinner? Where should I get, some clothes? They'll say, oh, well, Frank across the street or Jody down the street is the place. So they know their community, and
That's right.
they'll recommend, and sometimes they'll caution you about don't have the spicy whatever. I think it's where people will want to do a little bit of people watching because they know some of the people in the area. At least they feel comfortable with the people in the area. I think that there are events that bring people together, and I think your Gingerbread Festival is a great example of that. I think there's a great community builder that you and I both know in Port Credit, who has a big Paint the Town Red event.
That's right.
Every year, and brings the community together like nothing else. And so there's something special about places that are no longer just geographical districts, but really become communities, such that you feel like you're part of something. It has a sense of place. It is that third place. And I think that you've played that role in the past, and I look forward to the role that you're going to play at Young St. Clair BIA and trying to create that community feel.
Thank you so much, Brian. And I echo you. I think the other key thing that just came up while you were talking is these are authentic, real places. And I think, we've tried, and you're right, in North America, we try to recreate this third type of place through like shopping malls or like power centers. But you can't recreate sort of the authentic vibe and those community connections in these neighborhoods. And so that's why it's worth protecting, and also worth expanding in terms of getting even more people to be involved in local neighborhoods. And I'm so happy that I get to work here in this BIA, but also all my colleagues across the other BIAs across the city and the GTA, really making these places special.
I noticed that one of the BIs down on the waterfront has become very active in lobbying for increased density and thinking that some of
Hmm.
the density that was originally approved by the city of Toronto was inappropriate. Is that kind of advocacy work something that BIs get involved in?
Absolutely. I think that's the waterfront BIA that you're talking about. So as you know, the city is investing billions of dollars in the eastern waterfront. In my previous project where the sidewalk Toronto was supposed to happen. But really that's the size of sort of downtown Toronto that we're talking about. So that planning work, that advocacy work in terms of what is going to be built there in the future is essential in terms of creating these spaces and these communities or these third places that people are going to really live, work, and play in. And so, the great thing to have these BIs is to have that big vision. So, we take care of the small things as well too, but the big vision, the overall sort of look and feel of the future of the neighborhood is so essential. And so, what better group in terms of the BIs representing small business owners, property owners, but also the local community to be able to help advocate and shape that.
And I think that, with all of our challenges with affordability, Young St. Clair's got to be one of the perfect areas. I think about Young and Eglinton, it's developed maybe too much. It's
Yeah, that's
really
right.
amount of development there. Yorkville has gone through this major spurt of development over the course of the last 50 years. And you've got one of the tallest buildings in all of North America now at Young and Bloor. Young and St. Clair has great transit and is sort of ripe for that kind of development, isn't it?
Absolutely. It has the great bones for it. And it has also the community infrastructure. I was just speaking to one of the principals of the local school here as well. But I think I alluded to this earlier in terms of the housing mix. It has it's not all tall buildings like you see in other parts of the city as well. It's sort of a lot of mid rises. We are building, tall now. But it has that mix in terms of affordability as well too. So I was just saying there's a good healthy mix of rental housing available in the neighborhood. And so that's key. So I think it can't all just be a one type of sort of housing stock in a neighborhood. And so, yeah, I think, again, the BIA playing a central role in terms of advocating for this, in terms of public policy, working with local developers and property owners to make this happen is essential. And I think a good example here, Young St. Clair, Brian, is there's a new sort of St. Clair development, St. Clair Center development that's happening. So I believe it's 4 towers and thousands of units going in. But like just even looking at the public spaces below, we're going to relocate the library there. There's going to be sort of a little parquet in the middle, sort of a town square that's going to be happening. And so, yeah, right from the get-go, years of planning to make this happen, but it's going to really help enhance the neighborhood and Yonge and St. Clair for the future.
I think what you got to do is you got to come up with a new logo, though. Young St. Clair is great, but I like YSC or something like that. You got to somehow like get something comparable to the NYC for New York City or something like that. Why YSC?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So, and we're building these new gateway features that will be announcing your arrival into the neighborhood. So this might be a good time to examine that.
.to or 416, or the 6 or whatever. Like, you need something for that. Remind us, please, about where we go to check out this Gingerbread Festival, to watch your competition, to enter if we were lucky enough to get a kit, etc.
Yeah. So please find us online. Our website is youngstclair.ca. Twitter handle and Instagram handle is Young St. Clair. And if you want to come see the display, it's on until January the 11th, 2023. Come see the display at 2 St. Clair Avenue West by the St. Clair subway station or the streetcar line.
Louroz Mercader, congratulations on the new job. Congratulations on the Gingerbread Festival, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Brian. And I'm wishing everybody a happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.
We're going to take a break and come back with some concluding comments from me about the importance of community building in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody.